So what do we have so far?
Preliminary ideas.
What?
Preliminary ideas. Like
Yeah, okay, what are they? Before we enter this Mishnah, what are some of the preliminary ideas of this Mishnah?
There's something, there's a Shema text. There's a
Yeah.
Kriya, there's action.
There's a Shema, the text, then there's a Kriya, right? And then there's a time period which we had before. Those were the two ideas before, okay.
Is there a bodily position?
What was that?
What do we call a bodily position? Sounds a bit odd.
Yeah, position requirement.
Is there a benefit if you know that you're holding in the same subject, like here at Krishma? Is there a benefit to saying it over, or
I don't get it.
meaning? Is there a benefit to say it over when you first come to the Mishnah, when you want to sit down and figure out the preliminary ideas? Do you have to actually go and say out, okay, there's a Mishnah text, when you know from the last Mishnah, and you probably,
Well,
do you have to say it out, or can you, when you go and fill in the blanks, you can go in and sort of kind of have it in the back of your mind?
you could do it after, I mean, the first thing obviously you're gonna have to do is learn the Mishnah. Without a,
Right.
you have to, and you have to fumble your way through. That's really what it is, because there is no such thing as, so you're gonna have to do that, learn the Mishnah, and that's okay. Really, but in the end, what you have to do is you're gonna have to learn the Mishnah and ask yourself exactly what is the halachas of this Mishnah. You really when you initially begin, what you're really gonna focus on, right, is the Mishnaic statements. Because that's what it says.
I understand, but when you do something like preliminary, which is really the same as the previous Mishnah,
well, then you can ask
you
yourself,
sort of gloss over it and say, "Oh yeah, I know it's Shema, I know it's this and this." Now
it's always good. It's always good to say it. I mean, I don't just say it, but to repeat, to know it to yourself.
Remember that it's there.
Yeah, because what will happen is when you do that, you'll lead right into the Mishnah.
So there is a benefit to
going
from the top back down.
Yeah, what's it going to take?
Even quickly.
15 seconds.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. So that's basically the preliminary idea. There's Shema, there's a Kriya, and clearly this Mishnah is going to deal with what? With a position. Is there a position requirement or not? Which is a halacha. It's a halacha of position requirement, and that's what this Mishnah is obviously going to deal with. So obviously, that becomes the central idea, right? Central idea.
Did we do this Mishnah yet?
We're sort of like in the middle. It's
Just to clarify, when you do a Mishnah, I already said, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, that there could be two charts or structures, so to speak. The one that structures the Mishnah, so you know what the Mishnah is talking about, and then afterwards you plug in the halachas to your master chart.
Yeah.
So you have a Mishnaic structure, so you know what the Mishnah is saying.
Yeah. The key to clarity is the structure. It's always, and what you do is you link the Mishnah to the structure. But the key is always the structure.
Which is very helpful because I have recent two studies of Mishnayos for someone. It's very helpful to start structuring Mishnayos to Mishnayos 3. Even if I didn't have time to go plug in to my master chart.
Yeah.
At least I had the Mishnah structured, everything was clear.
Yeah, of course. Sure. So we have an idea, I mean, we know that the central idea is going to be position requirement, okay? Okay, so now we begin to say the Mishnah. So who's going to say?
We all have Mishnayos.
Okay. Zikimu?
Yeah.
Bishamai Omrim, Bishamai says, Ba'erev, in the evening, Kol Adam Yatu v'yikru. Every person should lean and read. Uva Boker, and in the morning, Yamdu, they should get up. Should stand up. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, V'shach b'cha u'v'kumecha. And when you lie down and when you get up.
Yeah, so what does he say? What did Beishamai say?
Beishamai says that the activity of leaning, the position, is important even b'diavad.
B'diavad, he says that? Where do you see this? He doesn't say that. Maybe true, but he doesn't say that.
No mistake, but he says at least it's important.
But it's not important, it's required.
Bodily position requirement.
What?
Bodily position requirement, that's how it
goes.
Yeah,
there's a bodily position, there's a position requirement.
Sounds funny, but...
Is it bodily a word we would use over here? Position requirements?
I just use position requirement. I mean, because position requirements,
True words, yeah.
Yeah. It's clearly, there's a position you must assume obviously using the body. So let me say that bodily position requirement. Yeah.
That's three statements.
What was that?
That's three statements we already just did. The evening, Beis Shammai about the evening, the morning, and then the proof text.
Well, wait. So, oh, you know how many statements in this particular
in that-
phrase?
What he just read, there's three already. I
Oh.
What's the third one?
the proof.
No, there's either two or three. I probably would do it in two. Excuse me, either one or two.
One.
Or 2 I wouldn't do three. Yeah.
But
But
you would do
Shammai
the proof.
is one. I mean, Shammai says there's a position requirement. What? And that's the central area. What is it? Right. So, Bo'erev, the Kriya Shema of Erev is Yatu. You have to incline or lay down.
That's the requirement.
Yeah. And in the morning Kriya Shema, you have to stand. You have to stand. You know. That's one. That's the halacha. Right. That is the halacha.
The how?
Well, that is the halacha,
Right.
right? Shenema is what?
Proof.
No,
Mukor.
Source.
Mukor.
no. What word do we use?
Derivation.
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 Determinant.
The source is Uvishak of Mecha, but what he's really trying to do is where do we derive this from? So it's a derivation. Okay, so you really have two statements here: the halacha and the derivation.
What do you say is the source?
I always talk about source as which pasuk, but the what is going on is derivation.
I'm sorry.
Derivation is an action. A source is a pasuk.
So over here,
He
where
used the source.
So the
Right.
Ushak of
Source.
Mecha is a source.
okay.
But what is going on? Derivation.
Oh,
That's the action. You know what I'm saying?
Just more precise. I mean, the same thing, really. Yeah.
Well,
More precise.
Yeah, I mean, derivation is he's attempting
That's what
to
we do.
derive it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
from whence does he derive it?
Right, yeah.
From the pasuk, source. That's all. It's one thing.
That's the right way to think
but
about
it's
it.
really two different things. It's we always want to do. See, the key is always look at it generally or generically. What is he saying, Beishamai? Beishamai is attempting to derive this halacha. Where does he derive it from? A
From the
source,
source, yeah.
and the source is B'shak Mecha. It's two different ideas, really.
Yeah.
But it's be precise.
Yeah.
Don't mix. A lot of people stuff ideas when it's the concept. Be sensitive to havchonas. That's really what you need to do. Always try to be general first, and be sensitive to havchonas, distinctions. That's really what Bris does. What Bris does is it recognizes that you can have a halacha, right? But really, it's not the halacha we want to look at. It's the attributes or the categories within the halacha. And then all of a sudden, once we say that, right, then we begin to see that, well, that machlokes is not about this halacha. It's about this category of the malacha. That makes all the difference in the world, see. Make havchonas, conceptual distinctions, attributes in a given thing, this is what they do in any chokhmah, really, and so on. If they let's say they talk about the heart. Well, we're going to talk about, the structure of the heart, composition of the heart, the electrical activity of the heart, the configuration of the heart, the relation. These are all these are all distinctions in the area called heart. And each one is a whole different area. You know what I'm saying? Same thing, We want to understand the havchonas. So therefore, what is Beis Shammai trying to do in the second statement? Okay, where do we know this from? Where do we derive it from? The answer to that question will be pasuk, and that's the source. You know what I'm saying? So clearly, Uvishapchav Kmecho to Beis Shammai is a source, or is the derivation of the halacha position requirement, bodily. See, it's clear. So we know exactly what he says, the halacha. We know what he's trying to do, and from where he takes it from. You know what I'm saying? Now, immediately we have a problem here because we know that Uvishapchav Kmecho is really the source pasuk, not of position,
time period.
but the time period. So we're stuck. What's going on here? And not only that, if it's used for position, then how do you know time period? You see, that's the immediate question based on our knowledge of the previous two Mishnahs. You know what I'm saying? So that has to have an answer. know what I'm saying? It's a fundamental question. You can't ignore the question. Some questions you can ignore it. You can't ignore this because it's a fundamental contradiction. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now Beis Hillel says, so we have that very important question. Now Beis Hillel says, Kol Adam Koreh Kedat. Yeah. You say?
Beis Hillel.
No, it's okay. Have a seat.
Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel Omrim. Beis Hillel
Oh, you go to
said.
Gemara. We're doing Mishnahs.
But it
Yeah,
works.
you're using Mishnah. Yeah, it's okay.
In the Gemara, there's a
In-
Mishnah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, we're on the third Mishnah.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm about to ask a question. Apparently.
You want to ask a question? What's the
No,
question?
I'm about to.
Oh,
answer
okay.
this
Beis Hillel,
question.
man.
Beis Hillel Omrim. Beis Hillel says, "Kol Adam Koreh Kedarko." Every person reads as his way, which
Yeah.
means whatever position he is in.
His preference.
There's no position requirement.
No position. I mean, there's no position requirement. Kedarka simply means
Whatever you
his
want.
preference. Whatever you want, do it. Everything's good.
Shenamar uvelechtacha baderech. This pasuk says, and when you go on the road. Im kain, if
Wait,
so,
wait. You need to understand this.
Do we really need derivation for this?
What?
Do we really need derivation for
Yeah.
this?
Why do we need derivation?
Just start whatever it is. It is.
I mean, Beis Shammai needs a pasuk, right? Ushav Chomecho, to tell me there's a position requirement. You know, but if there's no pasuk, why would I even think there's a position requirement? So the question here is, why would Beis Hillel need a pasuk to exclude an halacha?
Right.
When in effect you need a raya, you need a derivation to create the halacha. You see, like, what do we need this for? This is just pshat. We're not even into, organizing the mission and so on, It's just a clear reading of what it says and then asking the appropriate questions. But anyway, so clearly Beis Hillel says that there is no position requirement, and there isn't because that pasuk says there is no positional requirement. See, the real question, if you really think about that, if you read Kriya Shema, right, what does it say? When you think about it, you go through the parsha itself. What does it say? How do we know you have to read Kriya Shema? It says V'dibat the bomb, right? And then it says, okay, V'dibat the bomb, okay, where? B'shivtechu b'veisecha. That's one. You're sitting in your house. You got to read Kriya Shema. U'v'lechtechu aderech. And on your way, right? That's number two. Uv'shachpacha, and in your lying down. Uv'kumecha, and in your getting up or rising, So, what is the Torah trying to tell you, really? Why not just say v'dibat the bomb?
As it tells us the
So you have to say that
conditions.
each phrase in the Torah is a phrase that teaches you halacha.
Right.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Yishivtik b'visecha, we don't know. Not now. Right? Uvelechtuch v'aderech. You know what I'm saying? What do I have to know that for? I mean, why can't I read Kriya Shema on the way? Like, what's the problem here, Uveshapov kumecha.
And what's the way altogether?
What?
What's the way? What does it mean?
Any journey. It would mean any journey, But the question is, what's the chiddush here? I mean, why can't I walk? I can't walk and say Kriya Shema. Why not?
Why are you learning this stuff in Kriya Shema instead of Talmud Torah?
Who v'dibat the bomb?
Yeah,
But then the question is, how do you know Kriya Shema? How do you have to read it?
we know from when you lie down, when you rise up.
No, that's when, right?
This is Zman.
But how do you know you have to do it all together? Right?
Kriya Shema or Talmud Torah?
Kriya Shema. Right? Where's the chiyuv to read? How do we know you have to read Kriya Shema? You know what I'm saying? So it has to be from v'dibat the bomb. You have to say Shem Ekech b'chol levav b'chol ha'shachaveh. V'yoyu hadvorim oile refers to Shema. V'dibat the bomb, right?
He's asking another question. How do we learn the Limud Torah from the Dibat Abam? If
Yeah.
Dibat Abam is literally
Oh, so
Kriyat
that becomes what he's saying becomes a question exactly. If we need it for Kriya Shema, so what is it? How do you know about the bomb is Torah? Yeah, it's a legitimate question exactly. But we're learning Hilchas Kriya Shema, so that's what we're gonna. Clearly, we need a chiyuv, you know. But in any case, so Beis Hillel says, right, that the Uvelech Derech is a derivation that tells us there is no position requirement. That's what we see, and we have a question here.
What's a Havamina?
What's a Havamina? That we should have a position requirement, So then they're going to say, okay, Mkein Loma Nema Uvishapchav K'mecha, right? Why is there Uvishapchav K'mecha? Which is really right? Why are they saying Uvishapchav K'mecha? Why are they even saying this? Because of Beis Shammai, right? Because Beis Shammai is using it to teach us that there is a bodily positional requirement, right? So if they don't hold from that, well, what are they going to do with that derivation, that source posser? So they say what we always thought: Zman, time period.
Right. But for whatever reason, Beis Shammai was able to learn from Shopechov Kumecha two things.
Probably extra vav. I mean, there are extra vav in each word.
Or last time we said that it was because of I forgot the name of the method.
Yeah, we didn't get to that yet.
We didn't get to that yet.
Yeah.
But whatever method Beis Shammai is using, that's what we're asking over here for Beis Hillel, Lama Mema, meaning what are they doing with this Shopechov Kumecha?
Yeah.
Zman is the same.
Yeah, so Beis Hillel conforms to what we've been learning before, which means you need a time period.
Right.
And Uvshapchav K'mecha teaches us that there are two time periods. One, and it tells me what are the parameters of those time periods. And the interesting is that what it tells us, that pasuk tells us that the parameters is not a time period; it's an activity called getting up and going to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So,
It's one of the question and the answers. Is one statement.
the question and the
In
answer.
Cain.
I counted as two.
There's two.
Yeah. I would count it as two. Okay, so we have here what? We have a dialogue here. We have a debate. Right? Beis Shammai is on one side says position requirement, 1. Derivation is 2. So Beis Shammai offers a halacha called a position requirement, 1. And then he offers the derivation of that, and that's the pasuk. That's 2. Beis Hillel, what does he do? The same thing. He offers us a halacha that there is no position requirement, 1. Then he offers us a derivation why there is none, 2. And then third thing Beis Hillel does is what? He says, well, the pasuk that Beis Shammai says, what do I need it for? For time period, and so on. So we have a whole bunch of things, areas going on here, So, how do we solve it? So what we've done is delineated what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? So the obvious question is, let's take each one. Beis Shammai. How does Beis Shammai know about a time period? Because he's used it for a position requirement. You see. So therefore, when you look at the Mefarshim, right, they come down, They come down, It's interesting. I'm looking at Kahati, Kahati doesn't even deal with that. He just literally just touches the Mishnah. And that's problematic, because essentially you have to know what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? These questions. Then how does Beis Shammai know time? And why does Beis Hillel need a pasuk that there is none? If you need a pasuk that there is. You know what I'm saying? And these are fundamental questions. Those are the questions that are really, bothering us. And I honestly Kahati's saying anything about that, it's just interesting, and so on. But anyway, what do? So we know, what's the answer that some of the people say, right? That really, Uvishapchav K'mecha you learn two things from that. One thing you learn is time period, two of them, and the parameters when it begins and ends, night, when it begins and ends, day. We know that from Uveshapkov Mecha. And we also know position requirement. That we know because we take a look at some of the Mefoshim, and they will say that. Right? So then what's the obvious question here? We have one pasuk teaching us two halachas. So what's the problem that we have to think about? This is analysis, by the way. We're not even structuring the Mishnah yet, basically. It's just a matter of analyzing what the Mishnah says. You know what I'm saying?
So our next point is going to be Beis Hillel, because Beis Hillel seems to learn that there's only one thing in Mishal B'chol Kumecha.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, which is okay. So what's our question?
How do you get two things?
In one, exactly. You can't do that. You're violating the laws of derivation. You cannot use one pasuk for more than one limud. You know, you can use a pasuk. You can have what's called the principle of superfluousness or redundancy. Fine. If you have an extra letter, an extra word, you know, then you can do two things from one pasuk. You know what I'm saying? But Beis Shammai is not referring to that. There is no redundancy or superfluousness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you remember how he does it? Well, how does he do it?
Substitution.
Well,
The principle of substitution. What's it about?
it's the method of, and that's another thing you learn from this Mishnah. It's a new derivational method. You know, what's the method that he uses?
Substitution?
Well, that's a
So it
word.
is?
I need to hear the idea.
The idea is that he could have used another word
Got it.
for the Zman. If Mishal B'chol Kumecha was just telling us time periods, the Torah would have used a different word,
A different phrase.
different phrase.
Fine. So therefore, if the halacha of Ushapchav Kumecha was merely to tell us a time period, for that we don't need an activity. It should have said a time period.
Right.
It should have said Bo'erev and Baboiker. Right? But since the Torah doesn't say a time period, instead it uses the word Uveshapchav Kumecha. You know what I'm saying? So you can actually learn out two things. You can learn Uveshapchav Kumecha means time, and it also means position, which is interesting.
But Baboker B'erev wouldn't tell us the time range.
Well,
It was just the
only,
moment.
the only way to refute that is if they're not equal. It was if I could use one phrase to learn something, right? Instead the Torah used another phrase, so then I learn out a second halacha. But that's assuming that the Torah, you know what I'm saying, when it uses the first phrase, Baboiku Be'erev, right?
It wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same.
We wouldn't know the time range again. We would know the point, maybe say the Kachon, whatever, but we wouldn't know from here to there.
Why?
Because that's the time when people go to sleep, for example. I mean, that's Ba'erev, it doesn't say Ba'erev doesn't apply that.
No.
So it's different meaning. They have different meaning there.
So therefore, So
it's not substitution.
So
Really.
the word baboiker or bo'erev or baboiker, right, says a time period different than uveshapchav kumecha. That's the problem, and that's why Beis Hillel won't do this.
Why would Beis Shammai do it?
Because when does boiker start? Let's see bo'erev. When does erev start?
Erev probably from Shkia.
No, it
From
says.
Tzez HaKachon. No, I mean whatever.
Let's say it starts from Seis.
Yeah.
And when does it end? Erev.
Oh,
By Laila.
No, wouldn't we call it? That's Laila. If it would end by night, it would be called Laila instead of Erev.
oh,
Okay.
actually,
Arab means
Evening.
evening.
Whereas Laila means night.
no, actually, Laila when people sleep, so Erev has to be exactly what B'Sharvecha means.
Yeah,
really.
but
So really the same time period.
yeah, what?
Because what's Laila? Laila means when people sleep generally. So what's Erev? It's when it starts, till when people actually are asleep. So it's the same as B'Sharvecha, really.
Well-
That's what Erev means. I mean, that would mean it. So it's the same time period.
Well,
There's no difference.
that's the question.
It's a good substitution, really.
Yeah, it depends. Who does Beis Shammai hold like? You know, we know that there are 3 shitas or 2 shitas in terms of when it ends. B'Shabchov ends, right? One shita is Rabbi Eliezer. He holds to Ashmur Rishona, which is right. There's two shitas.
Right. So it's sort of three.
It's either evening or night. No, Rabbi Gamliel is a chumrah, Zaharchoka.
Sort of 4
So
hours.
there's really only two shitas, right?
Right.
So Shmur Rishoina, that works with Erev.
Yeah. So well, what's interesting, we don't really know what Beis Shammai says. Really, he could hold like Rabbi Eliezer, so therefore he could have said Boerev, or he could have held like Rabbi Gamliel, and therefore he could have said Alayla, right? But the question is the word either Erev or Laila synonymous with Uvshachach?
Erev.
And is the word Boiker synonymous with Uvkumecha? That's the interesting thing.
Probably, yeah.
Not really.
At first I said no, but now I think it is, yeah.
Well,
We could think it, we could look at it and they are the same, really. We could define Boker and Erev, we could define it.
yeah, they certainly look the same. But they end. I have to remember what I read. But they don't. If the Torah had said Bo'erev evening.
It's to exclude Laila. Laila when people already
No,
sleep, so it's
see,
exactly the
Erev,
same
the interesting thing about Erev isn't Seis. Beinu Harbayim starts earlier than Seis. If the Torah had said Erev instead of Uvshachach, right, then Erev would have started earlier. Uvshachach, it clearly is Seis, because that's an activity. But Erev starts earlier. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, So the method that Beis Shammai uses, well, forget about its refutation. What's its method? The method of derivation according to Beis Shammai is that if the Torah could have, let's say, used term A, expression A, right, and we would have learned out time. Instead, the Torah uses expression B. You know what I'm saying? So automatically, since the Torah used another type of expression, B, which could also mean A, it's a double meaning, then it has to mean double.
But A has to be more natural in a sense.
But A has to equal B.
Yeah, but more natural too. It has to be more natural.
You understand the method? Because you have to know what the method is here. It's one of the limudim of this Mishnah. If the Torah could have used A, expression A, right, to tell me a halacha, instead it used B, which could have a double meaning. In other words, A and a new idea, right? Then automatically it must mean that it is both ideas in the same person. So, in other words, if the Torah substitutes an expression, right, which has a double meaning, then we have to learn the double meaning.
It's not the fact that we could have been Zman, it's the fact
What?
that this could mean two things.
Correct, yeah. It could.
Could be
It
two
has to
different
be able
times.
to mean to it, because how could you learn time period if it only means position? It has to be two meanings.
So an ambiguous word can really derive two. You can derive two things from.
Yeah, you know what in English is called a fancy word, a very fancy word, double entendre. I think it's French. A double
French.
entendre, what?
Sounds French.
Hey, yeah, you're a French guy.
I'm a French guy.
What is that, right? Entendre, is that a word?
I never heard that word. It must be fancy French. Not me.
Why are we even handling time at all when the first Mishnah took care of that?
Empty.
Why wouldn't you say that this Mishnah is going on position only?
Well,
Because the
yeah.
first Mishnah and the Gemara is going to talk about from when is the time of Kriya Shema.
Yeah, but you'll notice one thing, that the first mission never brought down the pasuk. Never does. It just states the halacha. This is the time. But it never brings down the derivation of it. This is the first time we encounter a derivation in the Mishnah. You understand? So as far as we're concerned, if the Mishnah brought it down, so the fact that it brings it down is very important. This is the first time we encounter it. You can't cheat by using the Gemara. You know what I'm saying? Because as far as the Mishnah is concerned, the Gemara wasn't written yet. So, and you can't cheat by saying, well, Rashi says it. No. Rashi's 1,000 years after the Mishnah. Is he? 800 years? 900 years? Whatever. And so, So, you have to say, this is the first time we encounter the limud of the halacha that was expressed in the first Mishnah.
Are we saying that Erev and Vaikir would be
Well, in order to Beis
a
Shammai,
different time, would be a more limited time?
well, that's the refutation of Beis Shammai. It
Let's
would
go.
seem
No,
so.
I mean, unless they held that. Because Beis Hill seemed to come back and say it's to say you learn out that it's Kol Zman Shebnei Adam an extended period of time. B'shah shebnei adam sheichin, b'shah shebnei adam oimdim. Whereas it's not that Beis Hillel hold, Beis Shammai will hold that it's not the whole time. It's a shortened period of time.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, there is such a thing where Rabbi Eliezer is called the Shamati, I think. Rabbi Eliezer is called Beis Shammai. Rabbi Eliezer, Shamati, like from Beis Shammai. So if you look at the first two Mishnahs, we have Rabbi Eliezer in both the first and second Mishnah, and he both has a very short time. Like just the beginning of it, just the beginning of Boker.
Okay.
Whereas Rabbi Yeshua says no, right? Basically, just Beis
Yes,
Hillel.
yeah. Well,
that's called the man that people are getting up, even b'nei Malachim.
Yeah. But in any case, so look, there are three things we're learning from this Mishnah. Let's organize it, right? First thing we're learning halachas. Second thing we're learning is the derivation of those halachas. And the third thing we're learning is a new derivational method. This is what we walk away with this Mishnah,
Right.
It's important to organize what we're learning. We're learning three things in this Mishnah. Again, halachas of position requirements, derivation of those halachas. 3, a new derivational method of exegesis, if you want to fancy word for that, There's a new method of derivation. So the 3 things you walk away from this Mishnah, which is very important, So we have to say, therefore, Beis Shammai says what? That there is a position requirement. His derivation is a posuk. And the method of the source posuk, and the method that he derives it from that, right, is called a substituted expression that has a double meaning. So therefore you have to say Beis Shammai holds that Bo'erev and Baboika is identical to Uveshapchov Kmecha. So if you use Bo'erev and Baboika or Balayla Baboika, whatever, it could never mean position. But since the Torah used a phraseology, right, that means position and time period, right, therefore both are implied. You see? That's how he does it. And Beis Hillel will say, no, you can't do that. Why?
Because Be'erev and Baboker,
It's not the same.
It's not equal to V'shabchov Kumecha.
according to their understanding.
Yeah, which is interesting. So we have a new concept that there is a machloikis between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel on time.
Right.
It's interesting. That's what comes out of here. That there's machloikis Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel on the time period itself. Because if you learn the time period of Bo'erev Baboika, that will be different than of V'shabchov Kumecha according to Beis Hillel. Which is interesting. So that's the fourth idea that comes out of this Mishnah. Yeah. And then Beis Hillel will say, will exclude position. But our question remains, why do you have to exclude position? Because you need a pasuk to create that requirement. What do you need to exclude it with a pasuk for?
So how do we know that's not what Beis Hillel is doing? Like Beis Hillel learns.
He only learns time.
What? How does he know it's only time and not position requirement? Because there's a pasuk of L'Techa V'derech, not because he holds that Shor B'chov Kumecha is not equal to Be'erev and Boker. Maybe he holds that they're both equal, but he still holds that there's no position requirement because the Torah comes to teach us L'Techa V'derech, which is a pasuk coming to tell you that there is no.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Meaning, according to Beis Shammai, there's a Ushak B'chov Kumecha comes to tell us two
things, double meaning.
Now, according to Beis Hillel, that would be a great havamina, but there's a pasuk, another pasuk coming to tell us to exclude the havamina.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I'm not learning that there is a position requirement.
But why would you have the hab? You need a pasuk.
We have a pasuk Ushak B'chov Kumecha.
No, but they don't learn that.
How do we know that? Maybe they do learn that. Maybe they agree that Ushak B'chov Kumecha is the same as Be'erev and Boker. And the Torah could have said Be'erev and Boker.
No, they don't, because their whole Be'erev Baboika is different.
But how do we know that?
Because I saw that one in the Mephosh.
Okay, because what I'm trying to say is
that's how they refute
That's how they
Beis
refute.
Shammai. Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to say they refute it from Uvlech L'Chavaderech.
You know what it could be? I mean, this sounds really, is if it says Uvashapov Kmecho, that pasuk, what would you think it meant? Really, just by looking at that pasuk, you could actually learn what
I would say time period right away.
you could either, or you could say it means position and not time period, which means you could read Krishma all day long. Theoretically, if the Torah didn't give a time period, you could read it all day long. What's the difference? As long as it doesn't give you a time period.
If you wake up at 12 o'clock.
So it's really ambiguous.
Sure.
So what's interesting,
Yeah.
well, some guys do that. Some guys actually do that, because they hold that's exactly the yeah. But if you really think about it, if it says in the Torah of Shapchav Kumecha, you really could say, well, what does it mean? Is it telling me a position requirement because it could mean that and you're lying down and you're getting up, or is it when you lie down and when you get up? Which is it? So maybe Beis Hillel is saying that's why you need Uvelech T'chvadach. To tell me that it doesn't mean position, that do not learn that pasuk position, learn that pasuk as a time period.
How?
Because inherently in the pshat itself, we don't know what it means.
So how's Uvlech L'Chavaderech helping us?
No, so therefore Uvelech T'chvadach says that when you read Uveshapov Kmecho, it cannot mean position, it must mean time. It's a malamed.
Oh, okay.
How's that sound? That's interesting. What?
Good.
Sounds interesting. Maybe that's why Beis Hillel needs a pasuk. Because the pasuk of Shapach Fmecha itself can mean both. It's a double meaning. And in that sense, Beis Shammai is right. Except they say the fact that it could have used something else, and so on. But Beis Hillel said, you're right, it does have a double meaning. So how do I know which one it is? And the answer is Uvelech T'chvadach. That's an interesting approach. What do you think? Anybody want to refute that? It's interesting. Okay. I think we have it out. So how many topics are in this Mishnah? 1. What are we learning in this
The
Mishnah?
halachos?
The halacha itself. Is there not a position requirement?
Right.
2.
Derivations.
The derivation of both halachas, right? Of the halacha.
You're the one reading this.
And number 3,
Number 3 is the new method of
a
derivation.
new derivational method.
And number 4 is the machlokes Mishnah and Beis Hillel on time period.
Yeah, number 4. Interesting. See? That's what seems to be going on in Mishnah. And this isn't synthesis, this is analysis. Okay, then we have Omar Rab Tarfon.
Rabbi Tarfon says, Ani hayisi b'abaderech, I was going on the road, v'hitesi likros, and I leaned to read, k'divrei Beis Shammai, like the words of Beis Shammai.
Exactly, I lay down to read Kriyat Shema, like Beis Shammai. V'sikanti b'atzmi.
V'sikanti b'atzmi, and I endangered myself in Lealistim because of the thieves.
Yeah, bandits.
Amru lo, they told him, Kedai hayisa lacho b'atzmecha, it was fitting, you are fitting to
Responsible for
be responsible for yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, and if they would have killed you, you would have been guilty of your own death. You know what I'm saying?
Shavar tal divrei Beis Hillel, since you transgressed the divrei Beis Hillel.
Yeah. So how do we analyze this?
Obviously, there's something in the previous statements which indicated that it's not. Beis Hillel's statement was not sort of saying that there's no restriction. It's coming to tell you should not do, or there's somewhere somehow we're to understand that there's actually an isser to do what Beis Shammai says. Specifically to do what Beis Shammai
That it's
says.
wrong
New halacha
to conform to Beis Hillel.
Beis Shammai.
To quote Beis Shammai, yes, that's right. But there's an interesting chiddush here.
Chaim Misa for it.
Yeah. You know what the Yerushalmi says? Yerushalmi says incredible. If Reb Tarfon didn't read Kriyat Shema, he would have been able to say. And now that he read Kriyat Shema, like Beis Shammai, it's Chaim Misa. That Yerushalmi says that. And it's true, He would have been better off not reading Kriya Shema altogether. Because Chayav Misa is a lot worse than an Aseh, you know? No, but what you're learning is very interesting. Clearly the Mishnah says, or the Chacham said to Reb Tarfon, you shouldn't have done that. And if you would have done that, right, and then the listim would have killed you because you were lying on the ground like this, if he was on his, whatever he's riding, his donkey, right, he could have, slapped the donkey and made off. But since he was on the ground, they caught him on the ground, what was he going to do? So he purposely put himself in a position that he couldn't escape. You know what I'm saying? Because he was doing like Beis Shammai.
Can that be, I mean, even what Beis Shammai would say that if he was in a Makom Sakon, he wouldn't have to endanger himself with listim. It's just that this time he happened to run into listim, and because that would have been his punishment.
Yeah, that would have been.
Not because he endangered himself.
No,
because he directly endangered himself.
Yeah,
right.
that's right. Yeah, you can't say that he knew it was a Makom Sakona.
Right.
Because how do you do that? So you have to say he didn't think that in the whatever.
And he endangered himself, and they said that's what you.
So that was an
danger came, right?
Yeah. They look at that. The fact that he was taken by bandits, that was an oynish. The fact that he listened to Beis Shammai. But the interesting thing about it is what? If Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, they argue it, right? But they were two conflicting halachas. I can hear that. But the truth is, anything Beis Shammai does is good according to Beis Hillel. Because Beis Hillel has no preference. You can do whatever you want. So to him, you could also lie down. And even then, you can't do it. In other words, if you're doing something because your intent is to conform to the Beis Shammai, even though Beis Hillel is masking with that, because they don't care, you do whatever you want, you're still guilty. You'd be guilty of your own death, which is interesting.
Why?
What?
Why? So the obvious question is why? Where do we have
okay, that's the principle. Why is this halacha so? Remember what the principle was? What concept governs the halacha?
Yes.
Why is this so? Right? You want to give a guess? I think it's because, why do we pass like Beis Hillel altogether? Because it was a baskol. It was a baskol that came out and said that all the halachas are like Beis Hillel.
Why do we pay attention to the baskol? So other places, Rabbi Yeshua jumps up and said that the Torah's not in Shemayim. Don't mix in. Oh, Metzia.
Yeah, that's right.
Since when are we listening to a baskol? Deciding what the halacha is going to be? We're supposed to listen to the Eibishter made it so that the Chachamim over here, that's what you're Chayav Misa, because you're not listening
that's
to the
a valid question. Because we find there's a machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua about, and so on. So Rabbi Yeshua insisted, Rabbi Eliezer insisted he was right. So he said, if I'm right, so I forgot that something happened. And Nisim happened. Was it
River go upstream.
Yeah, the whole, it's
It says so, it's Devar.
Yeah. So there they said, you don't listen to Basko.
Because it says Torah is not Shemayim. That was the Taina.
Yeah, Rabbi Shemayim. That was the Taina, yeah.
I thought
but you see, Rabbi Shemayim, which is interesting, there's...
And Pascal said that the Torah, the halachas like Rabbi Eliezer everywhere.
Yeah.
Why are you arguing with Rabbi Eliezer?
So I could have answered that Rabbi Shemayim is if the Torah is machadish halacha. But here there's no chiddush in the sense that the halachas, there are two people arguing about what is the halacha, but it's not a new halacha never known before. I would have said that. You know what I'm saying, the difference?
No, but the same thing with
so that's what I'm saying. But I can't say that. See, without the Gemara Bava Metzia, I could have said that if the Torah is machadish halacha, Rabbi Shemayim means the Torah was given once and that's it. Now the Chazal, they're the ones that have the power of interpretation. But you know what I'm saying? But that's not what happened there. What happened there was who was the halacha like? So therefore it would apparently it would be the same thing here. He says, so over there, you don't listen to a baskol, and here, he would put himself in the sakon because he listened to a baskol. Valid question. I'm sure somebody asks it.
Tell me based on in Babylon too.
Who?
Teisves.
Ask him.
This the difference with why in Bava Metzia and Tes we go.
Who, in this
We
Mishnah?
don't know. We don't listen to a bas kol. Whereas in Gemara and Yavamas, where there we
Okay.
asking like Beis Hillel.
Okay. So that's what is the answer?
That's what he's asking.
Okay, what's the answer? You see what the answer is?
He says shiny hachal, but here we're talking about we don't listen to a bas kol. Shvol lechol echad divrei Torah. Diksiv acharem l'hatos. Rabbi Eliezer was coming to argue on acharem l'hatos. You can't argue on that. Aval Hassan, by the way, by then Yavamas, Adra Beis Hillel Ruba. He allowed to have misafkin he azin basa Ruba. They were the Rome. I guess we just musupik if we go. Shum de Beis Shammai have the charif tuba. They weren't sure if the rule is if you go after Rav, even where Beis Shammai are more charif.
But over there in Bava Metzia,
There's
it's
another
also a
text, right?
Shaila of Roiv, because the Chachamim, the Eliezer was arguing, he was taking on all
Right,
the
but he was
Chachamim.
saying you don't follow Rav altogether, I guess. I mean,
He was going against the Roiv, but the
Right, so that's-
Basco
that's
wants
why-
to...
and he was saying he was the second territory, which is just he says, "Oh, the kan lo yotze baskol il mishum kavod de Rabbi Eliezer." Shalom min hashamayim yechichu. Because he made them say he made Shemaim say it, so they said it, but it didn't mean
You do listen to a Basco.
right.
Where we don't, because really the
Because
Basco
he
was...
knew Rabbi Yeshua was only doing to make recover Rabbi Eliezer.
So the Basco was coerced. That, it's compelled, coerced. So there, and the question is, how do we know it was coerced? How do we know? The Rosh said him, so what do you force me to do this for?
Because it was going against the rabbin.
What?
Because it was going against the rabbin, which is the principle of the Torah. So why did it come out? If we're not going to listen to it anyway, why would it come out? It's coming out to show that his position is really validated in Shemayim. We're not going to follow it. Okay, we're not going to follow it, but he was given that covenant by the
Yeah, but how do we know that? What are we saying? We're saying that you don't listen to a Basco.
Right.
Right.
The second tier doesn't have anything to do with the first tier.
Two different truths from here.
Yeah, two different truths. Which means that both of them are weak. That's what it means. You don't need two terutzim if one of them was solid. But they both have weaknesses. Both sides. Okay, I don't want to get into that because but it's a valid question that needs an answer. But anyway, so I think that seems to be the reason why. Because there was a Baskel that specifically said, and apparently everybody agrees, that halacha is like Beis Hillel, therefore you have no right, not only in halacha where there's a true conflict between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, but even a halacha where Beis Shammai clearly is in agreement with Beis Hillel's halacha. So worst comes to worst, you see that even then it's also to intend to do it for that reason, even if the position itself was purely satisfactory to Beis Hillel. Interesting, it's tremendous chiddush, But anyway, okay. How do we structure the Mishnah now? We analyzed it.
Just one more time, in terms of statements again, this is all one statement, the whole Rabbi Tarfon thing? Or it's Rabbi Tarfon comes answer back to him?
Okay, well let's structure. Let's do that. Okay. So what do we have? Remember, how many things go into understanding the Mishnah? PI, the preliminary ideas. Right. What are the preliminary ideas that precede this Mishnah? One, that there's a text Shema. Two, there's a Kriya. Three, does it require a bodily position or not? Apparently that's all there is. We're skipping something because according to Beis Shammai, if it does, why? What's the principle? Remember, every halacha has 8 concepts to it. What's the case, the conduct, the principle, the essential conditions, the derivation, the area, and the structure, and the variations of the halacha. So why does Beis Shammai want a person to alter his position to accommodate b'shach b'ov kumecha? That's an interesting question. Why? Why does a guy have to lie down to say Kriya Shema?
You mean the principle?
That's
Yeah,
what the
principle.
Torah is
Yeah. No. That's the derivation. But what does it mean? Why does the Torah want Machayev it? What's the idea behind it?
Oh.
Yeah, the derivation is the pasuk. Fine. But what's the principle of this halacha? Why is this halacha so? Not so from where do we know, but what does it mean that the Torah says, according to Beis Shammai, you need to lie down when it's shachmacha, when it's night, and you need to get up when it's day.
You have to serve God in all your when you're down, when you're up in all different.
No, that's not an answer. It's true, but why?
The
Doesn't answer
bodily
why.
position affects the nature of your recitation,
The what?
quality of it.
To who?
The bodily position imparts a quality to the recitation. That it otherwise wouldn't have.
Quality to what?
We
The
don't want
recitation.
Recital.
we don't want to
Recital.
we don't want to compromise the quality
Why?
ever.
Why?
Using the word-
Good words, good words.
Using the words,
Yeah.
right.
Why?
Why does it?
Yeah,
I mean,
what's
we clearly does it. You daven standing up for a reason. You do an amida for a reason. I mean, the way you recite these recitals that we're talking about in Masechus Brachos, your position does make an impact on what you're doing. It's not a separate.
I'm not getting it.
If someone
Maybe
stands
some
up,
Indian
if
cover.
someone stands up and says something.
Why do I have to stand up in the morning and say Kriya Shema? And why do I have to lie down to say Kriya Shema at night?
Well, first I have to understand
I
what,
mean, it's true
what
I have to
the
say
six
Kriya
verses
Shema at
say.
night, that's true. That's the time period. Why do I have to lie down to say this?
I think first we have to remember what's the principle of saying Kriyat Shema altogether twice a day, in
Okay,
the morning and night, and then
Okay.
we could start thinking about the position.
Good.
That's probably.
yeah. So why do we say Kriya Shema? Remember we spoke? Why do we say Kriya Shema now? What do you have to say it twice for? One should be good enough. You know?
Concept of Yom and Ma'alev. Because, there's during the bad and the good. You have to do a couple of Shemayim in the bad and the or
Bad?
and the Choshen. I don't know, bad. I'm
You mean
saying,
bad, yeah.
I mean, perceived bad. But you have to do a
Well,
couple
you're
of
included to learn
Shemayim.
day and night.
What was that?
Is it again going on this manner that you again with Talmud Torah that you have to learn?
No, when I went to Kriya Shema, not Tam Torah. The question is, why do you have to recite Kriya Shema twice? What's the principle of that? So what you're saying is, because what is Kriya Shema altogether, really?
Kabbalah and Moshe.
What is Kriya Shema? No, what is Kriya Shema?
Declaration of Ichud.
It is a belief statement.
That's the first parasha. That's the first passage.
No, the whole thing is, no, it's a belief statement. It's a statement of belief. That's what it is. Yes? Let's get simple. Number two, what is the belief statement? What are you declaring? It's a verbal declaration of a belief concept, of a belief. Next thing is, what is the belief?
6 of them.
One. Am I outlining a whole bunch of beliefs?
6 of them, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 beliefs that you say when you get Kriya Shema. One, that there is a supreme being. 2, that he is one. 3, that he is a king, which means he exercises control, sovereignty. Number 4,
Where do we see it?
what? Buch Shem Kavod Malchus Son Red.
Oh.
Number what?
Shema itself is really a pasuk of Malchus. You see it in Rosh Hashanah we use that.
That's not in the pasuk though.
No, I'm talking about the Pasuk.
Well, the pasuk itself of Shema, you find is also somehow related to Malchus. In Harai we use it.
There's no raya. What do you see Malchus and Shema?
I'm not sure.
saying
I
you
see
see it in
divinity.
Malchus.
I see divinity in
She
Shema.
Why
says
do we
if you
use
say it as
Malchus?
Malchus.
What?
We use it in Malchus.
But we don't see it from Shema.
But
The
you
Pasuk
use that
doesn't talk
pasuk.
about Shema. The Pasuk merely says there's a God, that he is one. There's a supreme being. Well, it says he's a supreme being. He's our, right? He is our supreme being, and he's one. That's
What's
what
it
it
doing in
says.
Malchus?
Because the ultimate Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus is part of Shema. So it's Malchus, But that Pasuk itself, So anyway, so Shema says 1, there is a God. 2, that he is one. 3, that he's a Melech. 4, that he is our Melech. 5 is that we accept his sovereignty. He can be a Melech, but so what? I don't accept it at all. So that's number 5. So it's a belief statement. And then number 6 is V'hoyam Shamoah, is the mitzvahs. Well, actually, is the mitzvahs. What is the content, the expression of a sovereignty? Those are the commandments. So in the end, you're saying 6 belief statements when you say Shema.
Is all deraisa?
That's very important to know. What?
Is deraisa all 6 deraisa?
Well, Shema is deraisa, but I'm saying...
But which part
the
of Shema is
text-
deraisa really?
The text declares 6 ideas.
And all those 6 ideas are in the text which is deraisa.
Yeah, of Shema, yeah. Well, the first whole parsha, yeah. Therefore, when you say it at night, the Moshe wants you to say it, right? At night, which means when everything is concealed, when you don't see the Rebbeinu Shalom at all. So So Baruch Hashem says, you need to believe the statement, you know. And in the daytime, when it's clear as day, that there is something like that. So that's a very interesting idea of why we need to make a belief statement twice. Because they really point to, even though it's two time periods, what it really is two periods. It's two epochs. You know, two completely different times. You know, the Hester and the Ha'ora. Now, why do we have to lie down?
Makes no sense at all.
When you lie down, in essence, what's the major state of mind when you lie down?
Falling asleep.
Sleeping. Sleeping is unawareness. When you're up, what's the major state? What's the major mental state? Awareness.
Awareness, yeah.
Oh, so the Torah says you need to say Shema in a state of unawareness, which is like night. In other words, what the Torah says, I want you to express your state with the exact same content of what you're saying. In other words, night means what? Unawareness. When you don't know what in the world Rebbeinu Shem is doing, you still have to make those belief statements. And by daytime, I want you to stand, and that reflects awake. You say Shema also. When you are awake and you do know what the Rebbeinu Shem has done. How's that sound?
Good.
What?
No, but
That's
I
not.
never heard this before.
Yeah, it's fine. So that's interesting, because the concept of night is really the concept of what? You're unconscious. You're not aware. You know? So that's reflected by you got to lie down. You have to replicate, or you have to express the whole concept of Shema at that time, which is unawareness. And therefore you can, in other words, your body has to reflect that mental state, which is lie down, and you're unaware. And when you get up, you got to stand up, and that reflects the mental state called awareness. You know what I'm saying?
One thing's a little bit schwer though.
Yeah, go ahead.
We see, I mean, I know we're not supposed to use the Gemaras, but we're very afraid that, you know, Gedarma upon Gedarma made, that you're going to say Kriya Shema before you start getting tired and fall asleep. You just say before you eat, if you're laying down, why aren't we afraid you're going to fall asleep while you're saying Kriya Shema? Or maybe you'll fall asleep and you won't even say Kriya Shema. You know, those days people actually worked very hard. So once they finally decided to lay down, maybe they were out cold and finished. Why would Shammai, why would there be such a halacha that we would be commanded in Shammai's view to say Kriya Shema lying down when you have a very big sarkana that you're going to fall asleep in the middle of it?
And what about when you're rising?
When you're rising, you're fresh.
So we're not afraid you're going to fall asleep.
No.
So that only applies at night.
Right.
So your question is only a nighttime question.
Right.
Okay.
No, I'm saying I'm badavka asking on lying down because it's such a relaxing position for ready for sleep.
It's
that
a
we
valid
should
question, and
admonish-
apparently the only thing I can say is the Chazal are not worried, you know, that you're going to fall asleep. They're not worried that you're going to fall
I'm just,
asleep.
it's just okay.
So that's a valid. I mean, it's really a question is, should we fear that you will fall asleep, which was you're bringing up, and you have to say they were not afraid. You know, they were not afraid that you would fall asleep. They were afraid that you would forget, because that's why they had a hachokah. That's why you have to say it before Rabbi Gamliel until Chatzos. Because if you know you have plenty of time, what are you going to say? Yeah, okay, I have plenty of time. I get around to it. Meanwhile, you're going to engage yourself in some activity, and you're going to be so involved in that activity that you forget about Shema. So they knew that distraction will destroy the Amira. And that's claw. And in fact, that's not the only Mishnah. We have a lot of Mishnah like that. You know, Shabbos, where you can't sit next to a burning candle because you're going to get distracted in what you're doing, and you're going to forget, and so on. So they're clearly afraid of distractions. But apparently they're not afraid of, if you lie down, you say Shema, that they can fall asleep. I mean, maybe it'll happen sometime, but apparently they're not concerned.
This fits very well with what the Rosh said in the Perikal, whatever.
The what?
That the Chitzonius is Ma'aris Apnimius. If a person does an action, it creates,
Mental state.
yeah, it creates
Okay.
and that's where you're lying down and standing up. It contributes to your actual.
Well, it's an expression of that mental state, which the Torah says. When you're unaware, you say it. When you are aware, because you actually have to assume that position, which is really creates that mental state. But the question is valid. Just as you said there, I'm not afraid. It's really, in a certain sense, it's you have to call it. They didn't call it in that. They're not obviously not afraid. Anyway, okay. So what do we have here? How many? So we have that's the PI, the preliminary ideas. Now, what's a central idea, right? Next thing is the CI, the central idea. Is position requirement. Is there or is there not a position requirement for both times? That's a central idea. Remember, every Mishnah has a central idea which unites all the halachas. Okay? Third idea is the CIA. Sounds funny, but the central idea area. What's the area?
How?
Performance.
Yeah, it's in the area of performance, correct. Not in the area of text. It's in the area of performance, the kiyum itself. Yeah. So it's one of the halachas in the area of, not the object, which is the text, but it's in the area of the performance. Doing, which is the kriya. How is the kriya performed? It's part of the performance. Because even kriya is the performance.
Yeah.
Great, okay. How many statements we got? Well, we have Bo'erev, the halach itself, right? We have a derivation. Then we have Beis Hillel, the halacha. We have his derivation. Then we have his limud from that pasuk. So you can actually, so you have three. And then you have Reb Tarfon. What does Reb Tarfon come to add?
It's also,
So you have 5 statements so far, from memory, right? You have 5 statements. Beis Shammai's halacha, his derivation. Beis Hillel's halacha,
That's two. We did separate.
his derivation.
Beis Shammai and his derivation is 1 and 2.
You can't.
No, 2.
Counts as two.
2 things going on.
So Beis Hillel also 2.
3.
That's
No,
4.
no. Then it says V'loma Omra Nema. That's number 3.
Number 3 is Beis Hillel's derivation. Beis Hillel's
Yeah,
halacha.
so it's 5 things altogether so far.
So far
Right?
5.
Yeah, Imam member is number
Okay.
5.
Yeah. Remember, each one is a different statement, so it has to be right.
So we broke them into 2. We said B'Shav should bring Adam is 2. The second is an answer. The answer is the second one.
Yeah, so that's another.
That's 6.
It's an introduction to a new idea, correct? No, how'd you get 6? Wait, we have Bo'erev is 1, Ubaboike is 1, B'Shapov Kmecho, the derivation is 2, Kol Adam Kure is 3, Shenema is 4, Inkein Loma is 5. So
Fine.
they are
B'Shav should bring Adam. The answer is 6.
no, oh, I see.
That's what I
see.
I asked you that before,
Yeah,
you said you wanted 2.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Your call. Either way, you could divide it and say 6. Yeah. Okay. And number 7 is Reb Tarfon,
Which is all 1.
which is what?
So one.
His action and Chacham's
No, Reb
response.
Tarfon is really a what?
A restriction.
It's like Ma'aseh Bo Shabbono Bo Beis Harishta. It comes to clarify what is the
All one
sheet of
thing?
Rabbi
The
Gamliel.
whole story is one thing.
This comes to clarify what's Rab. The Mishnah brings down a Ma'aseh Reb Tarfon. Why?
Clarify Beis Hillel.
What?
Clarify Beis Hillel?
No.
No.
We know Beis Hillel. We don't need a clarification of that.
To clarify
To introduce
our
halacha.
conduct.
What?
Our conduct. Halacha.
Who?
To introduce a new halacha. That you're not, even when they overlap, you still can't do like Beis Shammai. And you have misa if you do.
That's certainly the chiddush, but to introduce, to reaffirm that the halacha must be Beis Hillel, even in the case where it can actually conform to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai, even when it can conform to Beis Hillel. So that's a tremendous chiddush.
Now, if there's no sakana of listening and I decide to lay down, is that
If there was no sakana, he also can't do it. Can't do it.
Chayav misa? No, you're not chayav misa.
No, we did.
No, I mean, you are chayav misa.
If there's a sakana,
You are
you
chayav
can't do it
misa.
anyway.
Just that the Baruch won't do it, that's all.
You are chayav misa for being over.
If he went exactly, yeah. It just happened to be that the Baruch immediately said no, and he sent bandits. They recognized that this was an oynish because he bent down, not because, when the Roshim sent bandits and put him into the sakona because that was the oynish. You should not have done that. That's what they mean.
The Mishnah saying that the bandits actually came.
Oh yeah. There are different shittas. Some say, Pashtas, the bandits came. Sikanti Biatzmi, that the bandits did come.
There was a potential.
If it's a potential,
No, but they're just not an oynish.
Even Beis Shammai would say you don't lie down in a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Who says Ishmael?
Yeah. Clearly it has to be that he thought he could. They came and it was an oynish and he recognized that, so he can't even do it and so on. So there are 7 different statements. So we have them all. Okay? And we know where it fits in the structure. Great. What's the next Mishnah? Mishnah Dalet. Mishnah Dalet. What do we have? The Shachar.
Can we read?
Yes.
B'shachar in the morning, v'varich shtayim lefanav ve'achas la'achareh. You say 2 brachos. You make 2 brachos before it, meaning Kriya Shema, and 1 after it. Uve'erev, and in the evening, shtayim lefanav, 2 before it, v'shtayim la'achareh, and 2 after it. Achas aruka, 1 long, ve'achas kitzara, 1 short. Mekom she'amru laharich, a place where they say to lengthen the bracha.
Structuring, Mishnah Gimel?
Which one?
Mishnah Gimel.
The structure?
Yeah.
Well, we just went over it, so...
On the position, saying everything was just fixed on the
on the position, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
AM, PM. On the position, it'll be AM, PM.
On the hot position, yeah. Under Kriya Shema position.
Right, essential
text, yeah.
Performance, position.
Position, yeah, exactly.
AM, PM.
What is AM, PM? Oh, both.
Arab, I'm over there.
Well, yeah, okay. You just put twice.
And that would be
whatever.
it.
Okay, we all know what it means. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, that was the structure. Because remember, there are 3 mitzvahs. And all of them have the same categories. Same halachas, right? Remember what the 3 mitzvahs are, which we will actually learn now. We are now learning there's the text itself of Shema. That's 1 mitzvah. It's kriya of that.
Yes. Essential text.
Essential text. Then the second thing, the second mitzvah is what? The expansion of that. But that itself is a new mitzvah. Of Mitzrayim. Zechiras Mitzrayim. Right? And then the 3rd Mishnah is an expansion. Of what? Well, extension of the text is an expansion. 3rd mitzvah is what? Is the brochus, the accompaniment itself. 3 different mitzvahs. And therefore all 3 of them will now be subject to the same list of halachas. That's the category. So like this, you can organize the totality of all 3 prokim under this list. So what do we have? We have...
We're still in the middle. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
A place where they said to lengthen it. You're not allowed to shorten it. The katzer, to shorten it. You're not allowed to lengthen it. Lachtom, if they say to make a chasima. You're not allowed not to make a chasima. And if they tell you not to be chosim, you're not allowed to be chosim.
Yeah. What do we do?
Preliminary information.
Who?
Yeah.
Preliminary. Yeah.
Okay. But like I say, sometimes you can't do that because you don't know what the Mishnah says. In our case, we can because, everybody was supposed to have learned the Mishnah. So, what's the preliminary ideas here?
There are brachas that accompany Kriya Shema.
No?
There's essential text.
No?
Shema.
Okay.
Extension.
No,
There's an extension.
Who?
There's an extension, which is the brachos, and they come in 2
No.
types.
No. Guys, no. Remember, your preliminary ideas have to be sequential. You skipped. You skipped.
That's from extension. That's
No. You guys skipped. Order or sequence is critical to Havana. It's especially Rebbe. Remember, Rebbe did not write a textbook. He wrote a record of the oral law. This is an intermediate book. Rebbe left out an enormous amount of halacha that should have come first, and don't. And you see that all over the Mishnahs. So our job is always to ask ourselves, okay, if Rebbe had written a textbook, what would he have written first, second, third, and then, bang go, there's the Mishnah. It's the fourth idea. That's critical for Havana. So what's the first thing Rebbe would have written?
Shema,
Mitzvah of Kriya Shema?
Who?
The Mitzvah of Kriya Shema?
No. Okay, yes. But we know that. We already know already that there's Shema, there's a text. That's it.
Brachas.
Who?
Brachas. That there's a concept that you have to pre.
The is such thing as a bracha.
Who?
The is such thing as a
That
bracha.
you have to make a
No.
bracha.
Yeah, well, it's too elementary.
Birkas
Yeah.
mitzvah.
What?
Birkas mitzvah.
No, the Shema is said in context
No.
of the bracha.
Birchas mitzvah? No.
That you mechuyev to make a bracha on this mitzvah of Kriya Shema.
Is that what these brachas are? Not really.
An accompanying bracha.
We do not say a bracha, Ashik Chal b'mitzvah, it's one of the grows Kriyishma. It's interesting, we don't say that, right? What's the first, besides that there is Shema, and so on, and that there's a text, and there's a Kriya, and so on, it's all true. But there's something distinctly that has to be stated now. In fact, if I ask you how many topics are there in this Mishnah, what would you say?
One.
One. You would say one.
Extension. That's what that is.
How many subtopics? I see you need to be more specific with you. How many subtopics are there in this Mishnah?
At least 7.
At least what?
At least 7.
7? Wow. What are they?
You have to make brachas before Kriya Shema. You have to make brachas after Kriya Shema. In the morning Kriya Shema, you have to have brachas before it.
Those are the
In
statements
the morning
already.
Kriya Shema, you have to have brachas
Those are the
after.
statements already.
Yeah, we want just, what's the topics? But really, we're looking at PI, the preliminary ideas. What's the first idea that Rebbe has to say?
It's said that the Shema is said with an accompanying bracha.
No.
Before it after.
No.
No, we're giving up.
That's later on in the preliminary ideas.
We're giving up.
In fact, that is the Mishnah. But we're talking about a preliminary idea. Remember,
Giving up.
you give up. If I gives up,
Give up, yeah. Put his hand out on business.
where do these brachos come from? Where do they come from?
What do you mean? From
These brachos. How many brachos are there?
7.
2, 1,
7.
Yeah.
Can you tell me where they came from?
There's a few places. The Rishami says like a posuk is the taste that we.
Yeah, it comes from Sheva b'yom hilal ticho. That's the origin. These brachos are they're not connected to Kriya Shema intrinsically. Because there's a posuk that says Sheva b'yom hilal ticho. I have praised you 7 times, right? That's what technically you could have just said the 7 without Shema. Chazal decided, for whatever reason, is to place them
Around Shema.
to accompany Kriya Shema. That's the first idea. That there are 7 independent brachas. You guys look at it as an accompaniment. It's not. It's really independent brachas. Therefore, the Chiddush, right? It has nothing to do with Kriya Shema. It's a Sheva b'yom hilal. That's the origin of these brachas. That's the first idea. The second idea would be, let's say, okay, where are they placed? And the answer is Chazal decided to make them accompany Shema. You see what I'm saying? Without that, of course you all guys all fell into the trap. Because Shema. No, it's not Shema. They are independent chiyuv, or whatever that. The chiyuv is from what? I think it's a pasuk in Tilim. Sheva b'yom hilal ticha. Okay, so therefore, when you look at that, so when it says b'shach mevorach shtayim, what we're really learning is these 7 independent brachos, Sheva b'yom hilal ticha, right? The Chazal decided to place them to accompany the Shema. Now you can ask why? Fine, but that's the first thing you need to know. Now, what's the second thing? We now know that these 7 brachos accompany Shema. Yes? What's the second thing you know? And now the Mishnah comes and says what? B'shach mevoch shtayim. Now the Mishnah hits. What does it say?
How they're divided.
The distribution. Exactly. How are they distributed? You see, that's a second. And there the Mishnah enters. We now know that there are 7 to 1. The second preliminary idea is that these 7 accompany Shema is number 2. Number 3, what's their distribution? And that's the chiddush of the first phrase in the Mishnah. Right? You see how it works? Look at the difference in clarity. Everybody thinks, oh, it's not Shema. You know, the chiddush is that they, 1, exist independent of Shema. 2, they are placed with Shema. 3, what's the distribution? How's that sound? I knew you guys have fallen to the trap. you know,
Got on record.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we learn? What's the distribution here? 2 before Shachris, 2 before, 1 after, and Ma'ariv, 2 before, 1 after. Great. Now we're not going into now. Then what's the next one?
Where's the 7th bracha?
Who?
Where's the 7th bracha that we say?
Ma'ariv is 2 before, 2 after.
Yeah.
That's 4.
Oh.
And then 2 before Shach and 1 is 7. Right? Okay. Now what's the second? So the first topic is what?
Distribution.
Is distribution. Oh, we already know the 2 preliminary ideas, and we now know that the chiddush of the Mishnah is the distribution, or the placement, whatever term you want to
That's
use.
the central.
What's that?
That'll be the central idea.
Well, the central idea is what?
The brachos.
Is those 7 independent brachas? What? How are they related? Or tell me about them. It's not even about Kriya Shema. You just tell me about them. So the first topic is where are they distributed? What's the second topic?
If they start with bracha and the
What? No, Achas Arucha Yas Ksara. What's that about?
Not the makeup.
Not the distribution. It's the.
It's not about distribution.
It's not. It's the identity. It's the
It's about what?
structure of each
The
bracha.
structure, yeah.
Format of each bracha.
Format of the bracha.
One is, it's a description of the bracha. That one of them is Arucha and one of them is Ketzara. Whatever that means. That's a description. You know, it's the format, it's the form. This phrase in the Mishnah tells us what in the world is the form that Chazal decided. So first we learned about its placement or its distribution. Now we're going to learn about its form. And what's the third thing?
Whether you're allowed to change the form.
Can we alter
Form.
the form? There you are.
And then
That's
there's
right.
another
Why
one
we
that
have
seem like
situation?
What?
I mean, that's why they're asking is the form.
No,
When you say can you alter it,
what they're saying is that these forms are absolute. You cannot alter them.
Why would you think Chazal tell me the brachos? Why should
Because
they? Why do you think?
normally, because many times you can't alter. You can alter. The question is, what can you alter and what can't you alter, which we'll see. But I'm also, so this Mishnah has 2 preliminary ideas and 3 topics. Bingo, that's the Mishnah. Look how clear it is. You see. You know what I'm saying? Now we go into it. You know, what is Rishai? What is Arucha? What is all this now? And so on, you know. But we now know its structure, where its place is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm going to done Marv now.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good, thank you.